Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skibowski of RE/MAX Lakes, and welcome to the show.
Here we are. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, and we're like a month into the shutdown.
1 month.
I can't believe it's already been a month, but it has.
It has, and they're talking about a rolling, restart of the economy.
Yeah.
I think we've probably led the curve here in Warsaw. I don't think we shut down as tight as what other areas of the country did.
Oh, yeah.
How do I measure that? Well, there's no statistics, me, Mr. Statistical Guy, but I can tell you by the number of cars that we see on the road and the cars on the parking lot at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
That's my measure. We had a brief at a couple of weeks of, you saw a reduction in that, but now we're starting. I think even though the executive order is still in place until May 1st,
right.
I think we're starting to see people say, I'm getting out and doing this thing.
I think it looks a lot different than, say, like New York. I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures of New York where it's, it normally would be crammed traffic, bumper to bumper traffic. And, you see streets that were completely empty. And so, but the effects of COVID-19 out there to the effects that have been here have been drastically different.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's what, the daily press briefing, from the president about the virus and those things. I think that's the point that they are trying to make, is that different areas of the country may come back faster than what others do. Montana, Wyoming, right?
There's like virtually no cases out there.
Well, and population density is minimal.
Right. Yeah.
So, they're already socially distanced. So what does all this lead to? Instability. And I think that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about, is the market isn't not stable right now, whether it be the financial markets. If you look at up 300, down 700, up 700, down 300. Yes. Every day there's something new with the stock market that impacts.
Yeah.
Oil prices, oil per barrel. The cost of a barrel of oil went negative during the week.
Yeah.
And now it's back positive, but it's still, we haven't seen things like this.
Yeah, but I think they slowed down production because to get it positive.
Well,
to
they
raise
had
that
to.
price. Yeah.
And again, I'm not a PhD economist or anything, but I like to think I'm a fairly common sense kind of guy. Well, if the economy is slowed, if demand has slowed, you gotta adjust supply, or just like when we talk with pricing, if supply continues to increase, they don't have anywhere to put the oil nowadays. Right? So the reservoirs are full. There's tankers floating around full of oil that can't go anywhere. You have to slow production down at some point. If the economy is slowed to a halt, they've got to slow that production down. Now, the fact that Russia and Saudi Arabia increased production, to start this price war, that did it was kind of crazy. But I guess it tells you where their allegiance is lie to themselves, not the worldwide economy. And I get it, they're in business for themselves, but short-term gain, they're going to feel some long-term pain, bottom line. For us as consumers, though, gas. Look at the price of gas. But in some areas of the country, it's below $1 a gallon.
Right. But here's the thing, we're not driving as much.
Exactly.
We're not driving as much. And so I actually talked to my insurance agent the other day, and she said, you're actually going to get a rebate back because you're not on the road. And so it's...
So we're seeing that. So from a consumer standpoint, right, our expenditures have decreased because we're home. Which for some folks, that's been a welcome respite, to be at home. And I'm not throwing out the window the stress that's been involved with that. Hey, am I going back to work? When am I going back to work? Kids, graduating seniors this year. Holy moly, I feel terrible for, those high school kids.
Horrible.
That they're online learning. Fortunately, some of the districts here in our area, that we're prepared for e-learning, at least talking to the parents that I've talked to. There's a lot of districts that were not ready for this.
No.
So they're inventing the wheel as this has happened. So we're very fortunate with that. But, so all of this economic talk, what's that got to do with the housing market? I thought we were going to talk about real estate. Well, it all impacts real estate. If we don't have a robust economy, if we don't have jobs, if we don't have, free cash available to those consumers, that disposable income to spend on housing, there is no housing market. if we aren't out working, there's no demand for oil. And it's going to continue. I think we're restructuring and it's revising how we're going to, as a society, work going forward. People are working from home rather than driving to the office and work. Is that going to change? Is that a trend? I don't know. Are they as productive at home as they are in the office? I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I can say about real estate on the instability side is that we have seen a marked decline in people out looking at homes. And the national statistics, they came out, the National Association of Realtors said roughly a 30%, they forecast a 30 to 40% decline this year in the number of buyers that are out there. But wait, don't expect that prices are going to drop, because sellers aren't dropping their prices yet.
Okay.
Because there's less inventory. Some people are hesitant to put their houses out on the market. So again, it goes back to that, like we talked about, oil supply demand. And even though I hated taking microeconomics and I hated taking macroeconomics, because a lot of the concepts made 0 sense to me, in college, but it all plays. That supply demand, equation is huge in what's going on in the marketplace today.
All right, so we're going to talk more about that instability and get into some of the local numbers. Come up here next. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skibowski of RE/MAX Lakes, and we're talking about the instability in the market right now because of the coronavirus, and obviously when we have an economy that's suffering, then you're going to have a real estate market that's suffering. But, there's a few twists to this.
Yeah, there is. And, I pulled the numbers in same time frame within the county. So Kosciuszko County data, looking at the same number of days in 19 versus 2020. And I'll be darned if the number of houses sold, number of units sold, didn't match exactly by the day.
Even with the coronavirus.
So take a month out, essentially.
Because we've been on shutdown.
We've been on shutdown. If you take a month out of the economy, so what does that say? If you listen to some of the prior shows we did this year, when I'm saying, hey, we're booming, housing is starting to take off. It's better this year than last year.
Yeah, it was better for this building, the radio stations. Yeah. We had a much better start to 2020 than what we did in 2019.
Absolutely, but even with a month out, we're still there, which says what could have been.
Yeah.
Right? What could have been.
Yeah.
But what are we all doing? We're adapting to conducting business in the new environment, socially distanced, mortgage companies, over the last couple of weeks we talked about forbearance, and a lot of people don't understand what forbearance is. But if you've got a mortgage on your home, and for whatever reason you feel, hey, I can't meet my mortgage payment, rather than just not making that payment, reach out to your lender, and perhaps, no guarantee, but they are working with people. And I think I used a stat, one of the headlines was 1,400% increase in mortgage forbearance, grants over the last week. Well, that was pretty significant. It went from 0.25 to 3.75. That number is now almost 6%. So what that says is people are proactively approaching their mortgage lenders and saying, hey, we've got a problem. We're not going to be able to. And the banks are working with them, which is a positive thing.
Yeah.
Even with all this other stuff that's going on, you watch the media and, there's not enough stimulus and we need money for this and we need money for that. The banks are willing to work with people because they don't want to get into the real estate market.
No, they don't.
They recognize, and that's one thing that I think is probably a lot different from 2008, 2009. At that point, I didn't think there was as much adjustment on the corporate side, on the lending side, as what there is this time around. For something like this, for people, everybody's digging in and adjusting and trying to do the right thing. I say everybody, most people, because there's always going to be that exception, right?
Right.
But in general, mortgage lenders will work with you. But the fact is, you have to make that call. Before your payment is late, reach out to your mortgage broker with your lender and say, hey, I've got a problem. Let them know, and in many cases, they will work a plan for you. Now, there's no free lunch with this. It's not like they're going to give you 2 months no payment. They may give you 2 months no payment, but guess what? Interest is still accruing.
Okay.
And they're going to probably tack that on to the end of your mortgage. So your 30-year mortgage is now 30 years and 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, we're dealing with today. We've got our head down in the battle. We're fighting the battle today. We're not worried about what's going to happen out in 30 years today.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I'm not.
Right. No.
You know, personally, and I'm sure you aren't either.
Right. Right.
You know, we're dealing with the situation that's at hand, so we're fighting whatever we need to fight today. And I'm not trying to blow this up, survival, right? We're not going to survive, but we're trying to do the best we can today to make sure that we stay current with the things that we need to stay current.
Mm-hmm.
So lenders are willing to work with people. So, even though buyer activity has dropped, and the forecast is, this is from the National Association of Realtors, 30 to 40% less buyer activity this year than what we would have had in previous years. We're still doing okay. We are. People, there's fewer homes on the market, but there are people out actively looking. They're just looking differently.
Right. And we should do a show just about how you are working differently,
Sure.
how agents are working differently
Yeah.
in this new market. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things that we could talk about.
We can talk about them. It's hard to show a virtual showing.
Yeah.
To sit here with my iPad on the radio. Now we do, we record this and I'm throwing it up on our YouTube channel so that people could check that, see the video if they want to see our ugly mugs, once a week.
Yeah, right, yeah.
To see those out there.
Yeah.
But, it's hard to show that. But yes, virtual showings are becoming more prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone out myself and recorded video for clients walking through a house so they can make a decision. Do I want to go into that house and see it or not?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, next week maybe we'll have that.
Yeah.
We'll bring in our little props, the hand sanitizer and the bleach wipes and,
Right.
The mask and the gloves and all those things that we've got that we're now wearing as we go
Mm-hmm.
into showings. Many clients wearing those same things.
Mm-hmm.
So even though buyer activity has slowed and some sellers have taken their homes off of the market, there are still things coming out. As we talked about before we went live,
Yeah.
I listed 2 houses this week, got an accepted offer in 1 day on the one, and we've got multiple offers and 2 days on the market for the other one.
So there are still things that are happening. I mean, there's still sellers out there and there's still buyers out there. So there is still a lot of activity going on in the real estate market.
There is still a lot of activity going on in the real estate market. It's just different than it has been. And it's in pockets. I had a good week. The week before wasn't so good.
Right.
It's ups and downs.
I kind of feel like we're in like the winter months where
Yeah.
the buyers that are out there, they're more serious.
Absolutely.
And same with the sellers, that it goes back to your why, which you
Right.
always bring up,
Yeah.
is what is your why, and so those people are going to be moving.
If
So,
you want to buy a house, you can. If you
Mhm.
want to sell a house, you can. If you're thinking about it, maybe you'd like to, you're going to be out there for a long time.
right,
So,
okay. Hey, Mark, your contact information?
Sure. The website's lakes-realtors.com. Phone number's 574-834-1233.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And Mark, thank you for the information. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.